This is Meredith with the Cedar Rapids Public Library, and you're joining us for What Should I Read? Now, I'm going to be very honest with you because I care about you. I am a librarian that doesn't read very much. I know. It's shocking, a little appalling to some as well. But I signed myself up for this program so that I would read more, I could read more, and I could share some of my insights and favorites with all of you beautiful patrons out there. I do live with a voracious reader who has been throwing around titles from the genre of Afrofuturism for years, and so I thought I would take this opportunity to dive in. Now, more honest talk. I've never really considered myself a fan of science fiction or fantasy. I usually read nonfiction. I like poetry, and I like kind of mid-20th century literature in general. I do have to remind myself that my favorite book is A Wrinkle in Time. Definitely on the spectrum of science fiction fantasy, right? But for this, I thought, this is my moment. These interesting times that we're in, science fiction and fantasy would be a perfect complement in my brain. Now, I will say, I also chose some titles that are kind of like Afrofuturism for busy people, and that means some short stories and novellas. So this would give you an opportunity to dip your toes in if you don't think you have the time to read a 300-page book. Now, I will also say that in this genre of black girl magic and black to the future, or some terms that have been thrown around with it, I did find some historical fiction, fantasy, magic typed reading as well, which I am absolutely charmed by. And so hopefully, whether it's a little black to the future or magic, there'll be something that you can hang on to and take with you for the next summer reading, perhaps. Summer Dare Challenge. Log some minutes, get some prizes. All right, so we're going to transition to some titles here. So take a look at what I've been reading. So these are the two titles that I picked up this summer. One is A Phoenix First Must Burn, which is a series of 16 short stories of black girl magic, resistance, and hope, edited by Patricia Caldwell, and Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, a novella that is part of a trilogy. So, without further ado, let me tell you about some short stories. So, I just was absolutely charmed by A Phoenix First Must Burn. In this collection of short stories, they're all considered appropriate for young adults as well as adults. And what I really appreciated was the diversity of characters, location, and time periods. So there was a story that had a queer couple in the historical Southwest at the time when the railroads were just being built and experiencing these beautiful magical experiences that pitted them against, their entire history pretty much, and where their future story would be written, or Caribbean islands with mystical creatures that inhabit the waters around them, or it's a future Earth and the planets that consequently are explored. It was just a remarkable kind of retrospect of magic and science fiction that all came underneath this umbrella of, just like a phoenix, right? There was something that cut these characters down or that they were struggling with and then rose above it consequently. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful collection of ideas and aesthetics that all came together in these 16 stories. Now, Binti also happens to be about a young woman setting out on her coming of age journey. She is not only the first person in her family to be accepted to this very prestigious university, but happens to be the first of her people to be accepted, and consequently must go to an entirely different planet to attend. And so she leaves behind her home, her people, knowing that she would not be accepted back if she takes this next step in her life, but can't help but understand her potential and what she could do in the world. And so I found this to be just a fabulously written novella. It reads so fast, but it's not so fast that you don't get to know and understand the characters. Like, there was just the idea that while standing in line, Binti is standing in line at the university, and there's someone behind her, and he reads the patterns in her hair because her people had taught her how to code, basically, their history in their hairstyles. And it was just such a beautiful snapshot of culture and life and history and family and science and technology then too. I was just absolutely taken by it and couldn't put the book down. It goes very fast. And again, it's part of a trilogy, so if you would like to continue on with Binti and her story, you certainly can. I also think that it's worth mentioning that as she leaves, knowing that she will never be accepted back into her family, into her country of origin, her planet of origin, that where she's going, she also knows that she will be different, the other, unique to the max. And so the bravery in taking that step and the formation of identity and how that changes is just remarkable, and she's just absolutely a hero in so many ways. There will be a link in the YouTube video for this for a more complete reading list if you want to know more about Afrofuturism, but I did pull a couple titles from our collection that I thought would be great places to start. So you can see, first up is a series of short stories, again, if you only have time to sit down and read one or two, by Octavia Butler. And you can see this includes science fiction, fantasy, and historical fiction. Also an ebook here, Brown Girl in the Ring by Neil Hopkinson. Just a really interesting read that brings urban life into view in Afrofuturism. And then, I don't know if you're familiar, and here's a trilogy collected all into one by N.K. Jemisin. And I don't know, she's just out of sight, like literally out of this world in terms of her work and her writing. She's award-winning left and right and has really been a force in more modern Afrofuturism. A title that we have requested to order is The Sorcerer of the Wild Deeps, and this was recommended to me because of its unique use of modern language and urban slang, but set in a fantasy world. It really blends a lot of different cultural concepts together in time and place, and apparently it's just one of the most amazing books to read. Now, it's totally worth mentioning, not just books pertain to Afrofuturism. On Hoopla, we have the Black Panther collection in comics. We have some Janelle Monáe in our collection in a physical copy. On Hoopla, we have some Erykah Badu, and if you're not familiar with Sun Ra, so many works on Hoopla. And music, he's a writer as well. Space is the place, it's true. And I found Fast Color to be one of the most exciting recent movies that have to do with Afrofuturism and portraying black characters as heroes in their modern world. So those are some recommendations that I have for you. Something else to keep in mind is that there is, in Iowa City, through Public Space One, the Center for Afrofuturistic Studies. And so that's another great resource to see artists and creators doing things right here and now. They have some virtual things online as their programs are now not happening in person, so I would highly recommend checking them out as well. So I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, let us know. And as always, thanks for watching.